Okay, in the first video we took a look at color dependent plot styles and named plot styles along with some of the other tools, and we started to create our file. And then in video 2 we established all of our settings and created a layout space with a title block, and then we saved it as a template file, DWT, and used it to create our drawing file. We used the DWT template that we created with the settings in it to create our DWG drawing assignment for this class. So in this video, we're going to finish it up by creating the Geneva CAM drawing in this chapter. The book lesson uses different methods to draw this detail, and so I'm going to try to stay kind of with the book methods, but I'm not going to use, for instance, a world coordinate system or type in at to less than 30 to create a 30-degree angle line. So you're welcome to use the step-by-step in the book, or here follow along on the video with me. Either way, follow the video with me so that you can pick up here additional commands that you might like to learn. So I'm going to make the construction layer current here, and then under the draw word, the word draw in the draw panel, you'll find here an icon called construction line. So go ahead and click on that. And then anywhere in your screen, go ahead and click, pull your mouse to the right and click, and then pull your mouse straight up and click. And then you can right click or escape out of that and turn your grid off. If you turn your grid off, and let's go ahead and turn our snap off too for now, our snap and our grid, we can see that we've created two construction lines here. And if you'd like to use ortho, you can, but we are going to be creating a 30-degree angled construction line. So why don't we temporarily go ahead and use polar tracking. And so with that on, you can rest your pointer on the fifth icon, right click, and make sure there's a check mark in front of 30. With that check mark in front of 30, I can then start the construction line command again and pick here at the intersection or midpoint of these two construction lines, and then just pull your mouse towards the 30-degree direction, and you'll see that polar tracking will help you to track every 30 degrees in the polar coordinate system. So instead of typing in at 30 and all the coordinates, you can pull your mouse to the right and click. And that is our construction line that we need. Now we're going to draw some of these circles. So we need to make the object lines layer current. And now we have several circles to draw from this intersection. Most of them are all radius. So we can start the circle center radius command here. I'm going to click the center and type in 0.75 for one of my circles, 0.75, and enter. If you right click and repeat the circle, it will always go back to radius. So I can click here for my center point and type in the next circle, which is 1.25, and enter. I'm using the wheel of my mouse to zoom up and down, and you know, if you hold the wheel down you can pan, but you also have those same tools over here in this navigator with pan and zoom features. Okay, so I can right click and repeat the circle and come back to the center and click, and then the next circle is 2 and enter. And let's do that again. Repeat the circle, click here, and we have a radius of 4. And again, right click, repeat the circle, And we have another circle that's 4.5. 4.5 and enter. Now going on to the next page here, we do have a couple more circles, and those are based on radius. So we're going to start that again, but this one now is based here on this quadrant or this intersection, whatever object snap that you're using. You know, the object snaps are here, the sixth icon. This should be on in blue, the sixth icon. And if you right click with your pointer on the sixth icon, you'll be able to see the quadrant and endpoints, midpoints, and centers, and some of these are on. So I'll use my escape key to get out of that. So I'm going to right click and repeat the circle here command, and then I'm going to click here at this quadrant for a circle that's 1.5 radius, and right click and repeat the circle command here to create another circle, this time being the intersection because it's not at the 0, 90, 180, 270 spots on a circle, which would be the quadrant. So here I'm going to click and type in 0.25 and enter. So these places will give us those circles that we're working with in this project that we're creating. Okay, now we're going to create an offset and offset this construction line down 0.25. So here in the modify panel, I'll go ahead and pick offset, this icon here, and type in 0.25 and enter. Select here this construction line and then pick below it somewhere. There you have a second line that's 0.25. You can right click and pick enter or escape or press enter to get back to the command line. Now they're asking us to now draw a line that's going to start from here, this intersection, and follow this line to the arc and click. And now we're forming this piece that comes around, and we can use the trim command. I'm going to head and start the trim command, and then when you start the trim command, press enter, and everything becomes a cutting edge so that we can cut out here parts of this circle to establish this small curve, and parts of this circle to establish this curve here. Now we're asked to mirror this piece so that it's down below. I'm going to start the mirror command and select here this curve, this line, and this arc, and then enter. And now I can click anywhere along this line, come out here and click, and then enter. And now I've mirrored that piece down. In the lesson chapter, there's a piece that would go here, so I could trim this circle now so that we have those pieces, or we could trim them at the end after the polar array. So I'll just go ahead and start the trim command and press enter, and then trim this circle back. You might end up with a few little lines that you'll have to erase, but if you go in the direction of the trim, you can continue to pick until you have just that left. Now I'm ready to create here an array, and the array that we're using under the modify panel is called polar array. Go ahead and start the polar array command, and we're only selecting these objects. If I select from right to left by clicking and pulling my mouse to the left, you see I will get a crossing window. And when you get a crossing window, you would then select everything that's inside the box and crossing over the box. And we don't want that, so I'm just going to go ahead and click here. What we want to do is click up here somewhere and pull our mouse from left to right so that only those objects are inside the box completely. You see how it just selects those objects? And now I can enter them or right click. The center point of the array is going to be at the center of all these circles. So I click here at the center point, and now the ribbon changes so that I can fill it out. We have 6 items to work with, and we want to make sure that it's a fill of 360. We can go ahead and see that that's what we want. It looks like the finished drawing there. So we can go ahead and pick close array. And we have our drawing. So continue with the drawing until you've finished the worksheet or the image that I'll show you shortly, because I'm going to pause it and go ahead and work on it. When you're using angular dimension for these 2 lines, it won't select a construction line. Now, in the past, construction lines were just regular lines. But here in 2014, when I use angular dimensions, it won't let you select a construction line. So I drew a center line from the center out here along that line, and then I erased the construction line. Now I can select that line, and as long as I keep my line straight to the tracking vector there, that's 30, because I have polar tracking on that 5th icon, I can go ahead and pull this out to where it belongs, somewhere around here, and then I can use it. So this one I'm going to erase because it's a construction line, and I'm going to extend this one with these blue grips. And now I can change my layer to dimensions and go to annotate and use here the angular dimension to select these 2 lines. There are a couple of things that you'll need to change in order to get the dimensions like what they're showing in the book. The first thing I'd like to suggest is that you type in the letter D and enter. If you type in D and enter, it basically brings you to the Dimension Style Manager. You can pick the Modify button, go to Primary Units, and change under Unit Format Precision. Change this to 2 zeros, 2 places to the right of the decimal. So 0.00. Pick OK and close, and you'll see that your dimensions are going to update. Also, this one here, what you can do is you can place it as a default radius here, and then select it, right click, and go to Properties. In the Properties dialog box, you can change the text movement to Move Text No Leader. If you pick Move Text No Leader, then you click inside the grip that's next to the text. You can bring that text over to where you want to put it, and it looks like the drawing a little bit more. You have to just kind of watch for your object snaps there. Okay, so that's how I did this one too. With this dimension, you can place it by using up here the dimension diameter and select this circle and bring it up here and click. But then once you select it, once it's drawn, instead of changing this, which we've been using, you can force here a dimension line to fit. So under the fit section, you can pick dimension or dim line forced on, and then it will look like the drawing that we're working with. And the same thing here for this 1.5. We'll just go ahead and under fit and scroll down. We'll change this dim line force to on, and it kind of forces a line there for the 1.5. I used this multi-leader here to create a regular leader line for this note that says keyway. And then I used regular 2D commands to finish this side view of that same part. So you'll need to probably go back and create another 8-inch diameter circle so that you can start this top line from right here, this intersection of the circle, and not these two pieces. And technically there would be another 2 lines that would come across here at the top. The book doesn't show those, but they would actually, be there in that view. I did also double click on this dimension once it's drawn so that you can put your crosshair right there, or cursor, at the beginning of the number. Go to here, symbol, and then pick this diameter. Now we're ready to go to the layout space and create our paper. So we'll click on layout 1, and earlier we created this title block. We can set the viewport layer current, which is the layer that we'll use for that hole or that opening in the paper. And then the book is asking us to go to the view pull down here, and then to go to viewports and over to this one viewport. But I'd like to also show you that you can go to the layout tab, and in earlier versions of AutoCAD it was the view tab, and in the layout tab it's all about here this layout, and one of them is rectangular. Let's go ahead and click on rectangular to create just a rectangular viewport. We can then here click at the corner. You can click right on the corner if you want. They're saying to turn off your object snaps, but I'm just going to get close to it. And even if you got right on it, it would be fine. To create here an opening in the paper, I'll just go ahead and click on this and bring it right to the corner, right there. A lot of companies will make the entire title block the hole or the opening. That way you really don't have to be concerned about that layer being on or off, because see here, you won't have that line that will print. We do have at the bottom right corner these numbers that represent the scale. They're asking us to set it up as 6 inches equals a foot, which is also a custom scale of 0.5, or kind of half scale, and that'll set the scale. In the book they're showing us a different way back in the properties palette. So you can right click if you'd like and pick properties. There are a couple of different ways of going to that, and here you'll see that the custom scale is set at 0.5 because I set it over here. Okay, I'll close out of the properties here palette, and you really should lock the viewport. It doesn't say here to lock it, they're just telling you to turn it off. But if you don't lock it, then you may accidentally go inside of it and start changing the scale. So there is here an option in the layout tab to pick lock, or if you have an earlier version of AutoCAD, you can just right click and go to display lock and then pick here yes. That way, see, if I double click inside here and I zoom up and down, I'm not changing the scale at all. I can double click here outside of the paper and I've got my title block all set up and ready to print. There are two things that I think we should do to finish this project. The first one is to double click on the text that you placed earlier and take out the whole word assignment so that you can put A7 and then put the scale colon 1/2. In order for us to print with our line weights and see it outside of the print preview when we're printing, we should go to the layer properties, and in the layer properties, you see how these are all normal? We should change these. So let's highlight the first one, hold your shift key down and highlight the last one, and then left click on one of those normals so that you can change the plot style to style 1. If you leave it on normal and you go to the editor in the form view tab, then it won't let you change the object's color to black. So what we're going to use is style 1. If we use style 1, then we know that the properties will print those lines in black. So we'll highlight style 1 and pick OK so that all of the layers are going to print with the style 1 plot style, which is monochrome or all black and not colored. We won't see it at first. On the tab, we have to right click, go to Page Setup Manager, pick the Modify button, and then we can put a check mark in Display Plot Styles. Let's make sure we have monochrome STB, and then let's preview it. If we preview our drawing, we'll see that most of it is right. I need to change my line weights here, make sure I have the right layer. Getting ready for the portfolio that we're working with at the end of this class, if you go back to right click on the layout one and pick Page Setup Manager, pick Modify, and then pick Preview. That is the preview of your project. You can press Print Screen on the keyboard. It's a button that says PRTSC, and what Print Screen does is it creates a screenshot of that image. And now I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. What it does is it holds that image in a temporary holding spot so that if you are going to use PowerPoint, and some of you might use Word, you can then go into PowerPoint or Word or whatever software that you use for creating documents. I don't know. So once you're in PowerPoint or Word, you can here right click and pick Paste, and then double click on the image and pick Crop, and then you can crop the image so that you're cropping it around your drawing, and then size it to the paper and create your portfolio. I'm using this whole slide for this detail, but maybe later you might have a couple that you could put on one sheet. It's your portfolio and your design. And so all of the projects will be documented like this. You can do them all at the end if you want to open them all up, or you can do them as you go so that at the end you have all of your projects ready.